The new laws this year. New year means new laws, of course, and one of them taking effect today that has a lot of people talking is this paid family and medical leave law, and it allows up to 20 weeks of leave and paid benefits. And Minnesota is the 13th state with a paid family and medical leave law. And our Corin Hoggard is covering this story for us today to just kind of break this all down, Corin, because there is a lot to talk about here, and maybe people have a lot of questions about this. So the first question might be, Corin, how does all of this work?
Yeah, like how did the money get in there? So the legislature passed, the legislature passed this law in 2023. It's implemented as of today officially. The money initially is coming from a little pot of money that the legislature put into this, but then after that it's really coming from us, the employees. So most about 25%, 27% or so of Minnesotans already had paid family and medical leave. So the rest of us will be able to access this now, but we will pay for it. The total cost is 0.88% of your pay, and your employer has to pay at least half of that, so 0.44%. I actually got a paycheck today and checked, and they took out 0.44% of my pay for this.
Right on time, Corin, right on time.
Yeah, perfectly timed. And
look at that.
So that's generally where the money comes from. And then when you want to take the leave, you can take up to 12 weeks of either family leave or the medical leave. The medical leave is pretty straightforward. Family leave is, when you need to help somebody in your family and they have some, a box of what your family means is spouses or domestic partners, children, parents, siblings, grandchildren and grandparents, spouses of children, so your in-laws, essentially. And that's who you can go in there and take family leave for if they need some help for a medical issue. Give you an example. Another personal issue. My daughter just tore her ACL, her MCL, and her meniscus.
Oh my gosh.
She's out of action, can't go to work for 8 to 10 weeks because she just had surgery. And so either myself or my wife could, if we chose to, take leave and have this program pay us to take care of our daughter. And our daughter works, she's in the workforce, and so she could take this time off of her work too if she chose and get paid at it doesn't pay you your complete salary. It pays, depending on what your pay is, usually around 60 to 70% of what your salary would be, and your employer can top that off and give you up to 100% of your normal pay, because we're not going to get more than $1,423 a week per person. So you might, depending on what your salary is, you may be earning more than that and may want to get more than that.
Oh my gosh, how's your daughter doing, by the way? Is she okay?
No, not really.
Oh my gosh.
A lot of pain for her, Yep. So, but I think she's not going to take the time off because she wants to go, even though she can't walk, she wants to go to work. They did a soft launch of this. Did you have a question? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to ask because, for example, you're talking about your daughter, she tore her ACL, MCL, everything in between. But for some people, does it matter what kind of medical events or the conditions covered? How do we know what exactly is covered here?
Yeah, so it's going to rely on medical providers to figure that out. So basically, your doctor is going to have to verify that you need time off of work. And then your employer, they can't deny you the leave, and they cannot replace you, and they cannot stop giving you insurance. But if they suspect that something's a little hokey, they can report that to the state, and the state will investigate that. They're doing, they have, according to, the folks over at DEED who are implementing this program, they have put a lot of guardrails in place to avoid fraud. And that includes the employers potentially, trying to rat out their employees if they think that they're, illegitimately taking this leave. And so, it covers just about everybody. There are some exceptions I should mention. It doesn't cover people in the seasonal hospitality industry, doesn't cover independent contractors or self-employed folks or people who work for tribal nations. All those folks, though, can opt into the program if they want to pay into it themselves. One other thing I should mention, because I don't think we've mentioned this at all, is employers who already have a pretty generous paid family and medical leave, they can tell the state that they have that and they can opt out of it. And that saves the employer money that they would have to pay in addition, because again, they're paying at least 0.44% of your salary to the state for this program. It would also save your employees that money. And so, about 20% of the wages that are paid in Minnesota, that's how they measure it. They don't have the exact number of businesses, but about 20% of the wages in Minnesota go to employees who work at places that already have paid family and medical leave that's generous enough that they could opt out of this program if they chose.
That's good to know that you can opt out of it. Corin, you mentioned DEED. I was listening to the commissioner the other day, and I think he said something like, this is the building the best program in the country. Of course, when people are working, they're like, if I do take leave, does that hinder me in some way at my job? Are there protections here for some of these people?
It's part of the bill is that, if you do take this leave, you cannot lose your job, cannot lose your position, cannot lose your insurance. Basically, it's, the same as, if somebody was in the National Guard and they got called to duty, you can't replace that person's job. They have to have it when they come back. It's the same with this.
Which is good, because a lot of people do sometimes have that worry on top of, other health worries when it comes to maybe themselves or their family members or anything like that. So this does sound like this will be of the greater good, for a lot of people, working people as well. Corin, if people have any questions, can they go to the DEED's website? How does that work?
Paidleave.mn.org has a whole lot of good stuff. I was just going through the FAQs to kind of verify some information myself, and it's a pretty good FAQ page. Should say also, I think a lot of people are concerned about fraud, and we talked about that a little already. They will be doing ID verification. You can take leave for pregnancy, or giving birth. You can actually take leave if you gave birth in 2025. Houston's a little older than that, isn't he?
A little past that now.
But a lot of people who had kids last year are allowed to take bonding leave this year.
Oh, okay.
But again, they have to provide proof of the birth of the child. And then, like we mentioned earlier, if you are taking medical leave, you do have to provide documentation from your medical provider. So those are some of the guardrails for fraud as well.
Yeah, proof. They need proof at this point, because as we've been talking about the last week or so, fraud definitely the topic of a lot of people's conversations right now. Corin, thanks for joining us here on All Day. I think it cleared up a lot of people's questions. And again, if you do have some more questions, we also have some information on our website as well. Thanks, Corin.
You got it.
All right, let's take a look at some of the other new laws taking effect today. So some workers in Minnesota are getting a raise. Some other good news for you. The minimum wage in Minnesota has increased to $11.41 an hour statewide. Now, the state rates do not apply to either Minneapolis or St. Paul, which have higher minimum wages, and that is why. So some of the other new laws include workers getting at least 15 minutes for a restroom break and 30 minutes for a meal break as well. There is an increased boat surcharge in fees, plus a new law aiming to better protect vulnerable adults from exploitation. So you can find a complete list of all of these new laws. We have these on our website, fox9.com. Ooh.